Alice Through the Looking Glass. I did see the first Alice in Wonderland. It was a long time ago. I don't remember it at all. Alice Through the Looking Glass opens up like at sea with like a bunch of pirates attacking a ship, and that's not a bad way to open up if you make it like this good, intense, like drawn out action scene. Like if you go for like Pirates of the Caribbean tone. Pirates of the Caribbean tone, and just like have the camera swooping down, all these cannons going off and people dying left and right. That could have been a great action scene to open up with. You know, if you have the right soundtrack. Like, look up 1000 Ships of the Underworld by Two Steps from Hell and Batman v Superman Their War Here. Imagine either of those two tracks going down to like a ship battle. It could have been awesome. Unfortunately, the soundtrack is so phoned in. There are notes of choir in the soundtrack, but, you know, you can't just, like, automatically have choir and win for me, right? That's not how it works. It still has to be good. There is no intensity or emotion or epicness in the soundtrack. And in a movie like Alice in Wonderland, where it's supposed to be like this visual and sound, like, very stunning movie, like, if you're focusing on that and sacrificing all plot and character depth, then you need to do that really well, and it doesn't. And then immediately after that, she goes back to England. Alright, I cannot frickin' stand 19th century England. I hate it. It is my least favorite time period in movies, and I never, ever, ever want to see it again. There's people in their fancy dresses going, oh, and sipping tea and going to parties. So then Alice actually does go through the looking glass into Wonderland. It's like when she goes to Anne Hathaway and all these other really inconsequential side characters, and it's really bright and sunny out, and the trees are all pink. It's a pretty looking place. The Mad Hatter's house is like in the shape of a hat, and it's on a hill, and and there's a part where the camera like swoops by it, and the camera, in my theater at least, the movie plays in full screen, so it uses the black bars, even when it's not in IMAX. And it is at times a pretty looking movie. There are a couple really cool shots, particularly when she's in this gothic castle Bloodborne place that is the grandfather clock of whatever. And when Time, played by Sacha Baron Cohen, who is by far the best part of this movie. He's charismatic, he's funny, he's entertaining. He's the only character that's the least bit interesting. When he's like playing with all the pocket watches and when there's like really vibrant orange and blue clouds, that's very pretty to look at. And at times the movie feels like a live action Dr. Seuss book with how they talk to each other. They like make fun of each other in puns and they say things that don't make any sense and they make up words. And it's a very surreal kind of world, particularly when she's in the chronosphere and she's like going through the oceans of time and there's like an ocean above and an ocean below. That was cool. That looked neat. That reminded me of the Vogue from Interstellar when they're just like warping through time. But Alice is a really boring, flat, completely emotionless, uninteresting character, as is the Hatter, who thinks he could just be weird and spunky and that makes him good. And the plot too, it makes no sense. So the Hatter just all of a sudden remembers that he had a family that died, and the way they go about fixing this makes zero sense. I'm gonna spoil it right here if you care, but like, so the whole point of like the reason like the whole red evil queen with the big head is evil is because like long ago when they were kids, Anne Hathaway lied and said, oh, she took the cookies, and after that she got really bitter and angry and she went out and then she hit her head on something and that's what made her head start to grow, and she like forever like held a grudge against her sister. Alice comes up with the idea to go back and fix that, which would solve every problem in the book and make Wonderland this happy place. And she fails because she wasn't paying attention and she hits her head anyway and she's like, oh no, we're lost forever. I'm like, you have a time machine, dumbass, just do it again! And the part where all the rust is like covering Wonderland in death or lack of time or whatever, that looked really good. The CGI on that was pretty nice. But, you know, it's still a bad movie. The movie isn't boring. It's colossally wasted potential. Like, think of what Christopher Nolan could do with this if he had Hans Zimmer doing the music with that kind of surreal visual style and his also, you know, capability of making a good movie. This is a completely phoned in attempt to just cash off the Alice in Wonderland name, and I hope it fails at the box office. Again, at the end of the day, the movie's not boring, but it's just bad. Like, there is a difference. Like, I'd rather a movie be bad than boring. Alice in Wonderland gets a 5 out of 10. Don't go see this. Don't try to see if it's that bad. Don't say, hey, at least it'll be cool in IMAX, right? No, just go see X-Men, okay? But I've already seen X-Men. Then see it again. It's awesome.